Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. Welcome all you cool ghouls and friendly fiends. It is the House of the Unusual podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pavlansky. With me, as always, are my good buddies, Eddie Guevara, Chuck Caputo, and Cheri Caputo. What's up, everyone?
Everything's good, guys. How are you?
Hello.
All right. Well, it is a beautiful day today. We're recording this Tuesday, February 7th, and here in Northeast Ohio, it's like almost like springtime out here.
Yeah.
The weather doesn't know what it wants to do. If cold, snow, hot, warm, who knows what's going on, but aside from the weather here, let's hit up some announcements real quick here. Just got one real quick announcement. So as everybody knows, there is the Rondo Hatton Classic Film Awards over at the Classic Horror Film Board. So what these are, every year they do awards for classic horror and sci-fi. So this year, this is the 21st awards that they're doing. And a few weeks back, I had nominated House of the Unusual for Best Podcast, which hopefully if they pick our nomination out of the thread, it'll go on to the actual ballot. So we want everybody out there to go onto the thread, nominate House of the Unusual for the Best Podcast. Best way to get there is go over to houseoftheunusual.com in our forum site. I have a thread going, House of the Unusual Best Podcast. You could find the links there to that thread. If you don't have a profile with Classic Horror Film Board, make a quick profile, and you could go onto that link and just put us in Best Podcast, House of the Unusual. Hopefully, if they get enough, they'll put us on the actual ballot. And once the ballot comes out, which I believe it's going to be sometime right after the Super Bowl, we could, we're going to update that and push for us to hopefully get Best Podcast or somewhere around there. So I know from the last time I looked at the thread the other day, he said right after the Super Bowl's over is when the nominations will close. So everybody out there, hurry up, jump on there and throw us a nomination. So that's all I got for announcements for this week. As last week we had a whole bunch of them, but this week I just wanted to stick to that one right there and head it over to Chuck and Cheri to see how you guys are doing. So what's new?
All right, pretty good. This is a first. We're over our son's house. We were running all around. We walked in the cemetery, and so we figured we better stop here and do the podcast. But keeping busy, doing shows and coming up with a few new ideas and so forth. And Cheri, what about you?
Oh, not too much happening here. Still working on my sea monkeys. They should be hatching any day now.
When did you put them in the water?
About almost 5. Well, I think today would be 5 days ago.
Okay. What's the I can't remember. What's the time frame that they hatch?
Between 5 and 7 days.
Okay. Perfect.
So hopefully I've been aerating it, with a little spoon. And a few times I dumped it, like it said, to dump it into a glass, go back and forth a couple times to get the oxygen in the water.
Okay.
Gently. So I've been doing that, and we'll see. I don't know. See if these little buggers will grow.
hopefully you'll have a full family of sea monkeys. Make sure you take pictures or video and all that, and
definitely
throw it on the forum under the thread for the sea monkeys, and add it to our family of sea monkeys. Which I still have to do mine. Maybe I'll start that this week.
Yeah, that would be cool. Hey, we watched the movie Cheri's favorite on Svengoolie the other night.
The creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, the goon from the Black Lagoon. Oh,
nice.
That's a wonderful movie. I love it.
Was it the first one?
Yeah, I guess in 1954. When would that be, Joe?
Yeah, that's the first one.
So Joe, it hit me when I was watching it again. Julie Adams, who was the star, the girl with the synchronizing swimming and all that, the star of the show, besides the creature, of course. It hit me, her eyes, and I was looking her up, and sure enough, she is on Murder, She Wrote.
Oh, yeah. She was. I'm just looking up Eve Simpson.
That's right. She's a crazy real estate agent. She's a big flirt. She's always flirty with the boys or all the guys. It's so funny. I said, I can't believe that's her. She lived to be, 92?
I believe
92, yeah, died in 2019. And I tell you what, I seen her at Monster Bash where I got her and Rico Browning's autograph
nice.
on a creature. a creature photograph of him holding her. And I tell you what, even in her late 80s at the time, she still looked fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I would have seen her.
Yeah, I like some of the stats that Sven Goldie said on there. He said there was two different creatures. One was on the land or on the boat.
The different outfits,
Yeah, and the second costume was worn by a swimmer, and he would hold his breath up to 4 minutes long. I mean, imagine that, swimming underwater.
Yeah, that was Rico Browning. He was the creature underwater.
Okay.
He was a stunt man, and he did a lot of other stuff, but he was a swimmer, not a professional swimmer. And I can't remember the guy who did the Gillman on the land. Ben Chapman, that's who it was.
That's
Ben
it.
Chapman did it on the land.
Yeah, that's it.
So they actually had two going back and forth there.
I tell you, that was a cool movie. I always liked it, and I loved the scenery and everything. It's just hard to believe that woman would go swimming, synchronized swimming, where there was like an alligator that came in the water just not too far away from there, and murky. You know what I mean? There's no way.
Yeah, I tell you what's cool about when Rico Browning was doing his underwater scenes, they had divers under there with oxygen tanks for him, so that way he could take some oxygen and remain underwater, so they could keep filming under there. Because I'm sure that suit would get waterlogged, and it was heavy as heck. So they try to film it quick and keep him underwater rather than going back and forth.
Yeah, that's true. Chuck said that when the creature's walking out there, when he was like, I guess what was that stuff they were shooting at him? Did that like drug him or whatever? Yeah. When he was walking all crazy and disoriented, Chuck goes, "Oh, that looks like him. It looks like me when I get up in the morning
before his coffee,
stumbling around." Yeah, stumbling around. I said, "Yeah, it kind of does."
Get Chuck his coffee early in the morning, right out of bed.
Yeah, that's exactly. And my hands look like that too. Like, before I crack my knuckles. Yeah.
That's why I love you, baby.
I tell you what, that costume was absolutely fantastic, and all the work that went into it was just crazy. And the lady that actually designed that costume she was a Disney animator. Her name was Millicent Patrick.
Oh, nice.
She was absolutely gorgeous. So you look at her, you would think, oh, this girl was a model or showgirl or something, but she was an animator. She did makeup artist, special effects, and everything. Wow. And she did a fantastic job on that. I mean, if you could find it online, some of her drawings and sketches.
Oh, I'll check into it. Wow,
man, are just fantastic. And a lot of her work that she did for animation, she did some scenes on Fantasia, Dumbo. Nice. So all those old, Disney cartoons are credit to her. And it's really sad because she's not really that well known. There was a few years ago, somebody put out a book on her, like a biography, and I have it. I haven't read it yet, but I flipped through it, and there's tons of cool photos in there of her work and just of her. So she's really kind of like an unsung hero of the horror industry.
Yeah, you better believe it.
As a whole.
Wow, she is talented. Where was that filmed at, Joe? Do you know? Was that on location in a particular place? Where was that movie filmed?
By the way, Michael Mesmer here.
Oh, Michael, what's up?
Hey, Michael.
Just hanging loose. I was listening to your conversation, and Millicent Patrick, that's such a sad story in a sense, because Michael, or Westmore at the time, he didn't want to relegate any of his credential to her, and in the credits of the film they don't even mention Millicent, and yet she was the one that designed the creature. And as Sven had noted on the show Saturday, she based that off of the Oscar statue combined with an old woodcut was for the head that she chose, and then she combined them. And they did send her out on a little press junket because they thought it'd be good to have a woman come out and do that. But the deal was that she never really received the credit for that. So I'm glad she's getting a lot more acknowledgement now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it seems like over the last few years, a lot of people have been acknowledging her a lot more, and I wish it was more predominant in the industry, because her, what she contributed to classic horror and classic animation is just,
absolutely.
Well,
amazing.
The creature was definitely the monster of the 1950s. The big monster of the 1940s was, of course, the Wolfman, but Frankenstein in the 30s. But the 50s was definitely the creature, and so yeah, it is sad. And answer to your question, Chuck, they shot that film 2 locations. The underwater was all done in Florida, and the everything else you see was done in Universal Studios back lot, and they still have
Wow.
the lagoon is still there in different form, but it's still there where they actually shot that.
Wow.
Underwater tank there as well at Universal. But yeah, for many years, they kind of also tried to keep sort of Rico Browning a secret because Ben Chapman wanted to say he was the creature. And so there was actually for many, many years, there was a little bit of a conflict there between the two of them. And then eventually I think they kind of reconciled and both of them would sign autographs together and things like that. But
That's nice. I tell you, the thing that kind of amazed me too. Well, you figure that movie's about 68 years old, I believe, somewhere around there. And you know what? The scuba gear hasn't really changed all that much. I mean, the one thing that Cheri noticed is that they didn't wear the tight skin thing that the wetsuits. You know what I mean? But as far as the scuba gear, I mean, it looked pretty much the same. Maybe a little variation compared to what we have now. You know, as
yeah,
opposed to like in the early 1900s where they had the big round thing they put on top of your
a
head.
diving suit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I tell you what, when I met Rico Browning along with Julie Adams, they were two of the nicest people you would ever want to meet. I mean, they were taking pictures with everybody, giving hugs out, handshakes, and they were so happy that people were still recognizing them and still celebrating them, and they were in their late 80s, and unfortunately Julie Adams passed away. Rico Browning's still alive. He's 92.
Oh my!
It was like they were just happy to be remembered for
Yeah.
these roles, and of course, all of them had great careers. They did a lot of different stuff, but everybody remembers them from The Creature from the Black Lagoon, and they were just loving it, all the attention, and they couldn't have been nicer people. So it's always fantastic to meet these golden age actors and actresses because they're really just down to earth people.
Well, and Rico Browning went on to quite a career. I mean, he did a lot of underwater choreography, including for Thunderball with Sean Connery. And so that was his first foray at that time. He's a very young man during the Creature, but he went on to a pretty prolific career doing underwater choreography for diving scenes and everything. And like I say, including one of my favorites, Thunderball with James Bond and Sean Connery.
And he also did he also directed the underwater scenes for Caddyshack as well,
right,
1980. And
wow!
And we were just talking about the Rondo Hatton Classic Awards, and in 2019 he got inducted to the Monster Kid Hall of Fame there. So that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were it's really cool to read about these, because a lot of times we look at these actors and actresses from these classic horror films and we just know them from, or not just know them, but we really recognize them from there. But they've done so much, throughout their careers, and a lot of really cool stuff, where they went on to writing, directing, or special effects or stunts and everything like that. So it's really cool to read about them and see everything that they've done in their life.
Yeah. And that Creature movie is iconic. And, they went on with the Creature, of course, and eventually they had him on land, took off his gills. And so it's an interesting progression with that character in general.
Right. And real quick, too, is that I was just reading in 2012, Julie Adams, she was inducted to the Rondo Monster Kid Hall of Fame as well. So both of them are in the Hall of Fame there. So that's really cool,
great.
too. Yeah. So, Mike, real quick, let's move on from that because we got a lot to talk about today. So, Mike, what's been new with you? Any good shows coming up?
Well, I'm doing a lot of shows, but of course, my book will be releasing in exactly 1 month from today, Ghost Transfer, A Hypnotist Among the Spirits. Very excited. I went on Google last night and I'm kind of blown away because the publishers have gotten it out where it's on almost every major site from Amazon to Walmart to
nice.
So it's pretty exciting to go online and see the book, being offered on so many different platforms and so many places on the internet. But I'm really excited about it and getting more excited by the day. And it's on pre-order, so people can go out and order it now. And by the way, in Scary Monsters 130, there'll be an excerpt from the book printed in there, as well as I took out an ad as well. But there'll be an excerpt from the book in Scary Monsters this upcoming issue.
Oh, nice.
That's great. We'll have to get you on, right when that book releases, and definitely drop us a line when it does. Remind us, because we'll put it up on the forum site as well, and we'll advertise it on there and a few other like Classic Horror Film Board and Universal Monster Army make sure we get it out to people, because I'm sure that'll be a definite pickup, for a lot of people.
Well, I really appreciate that. Yeah, and then I'm just doing shows locally here. I'm lecturing next week at a club, Magic Club locally, and just having a good time. Getting ready to have a great year, and so excited that to be part of this today, because I always love to be with you guys.
Oh, well, we thank you. You're making us blush. Very cool.
I'm so embarrassed. No.
I'm fanning my face right now.
It's just, you guys are the best. It's always fun.
We love you, Mike.
I've loved.
Don't worry, Mike. Your check's in the mail.
And I've seen Chuck's videos lately. They're so cool. I just love all the magic he has videos, and I've been enjoying watching them. And yeah, it's very cool. And of course, Cheri and everybody, it's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Well, really appreciate it. Glad to have you and everybody else on here. And we're gonna move it over to Eddie at House of the Unusual proper and see what is going on with him. So what's up, Eddie?
Yeah, well, first of all, I wanted to mention, you guys, you all forgot to mention Clint Eastwood. In that movie, The Creature, he was the scientist. And I believe it was his first appearance ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my, I didn't know that.
Wasn't that in the second film? I'm not sure, but I think
or it could be the second, but I know Clint Eastwood made, he was the scientist. Yeah. No, I think it's the first one, Mike.
I'm gonna look it up right now, because now I'm kind of on a blank on it. Let me check real quick.
I didn't notice if that was him.
Yeah, that was the first time Clint Eastwood, he was the scientist on the film.
Yes.
And that's the first time he actually appeared in
wow.
On any motion picture. So that's something that kind of, I thought you guys were going to mention it, but
wow, I didn't even know that.
What does it say, Joe? You look.
Yeah, he was in Revenge of the Creature.
Okay, Revenge.
He was lab technician Jennings.
Yep, that's the first time he ever appeared. Well, it's the second part, but obviously you didn't see him in the first.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to check.
Oh, it was in 1955.
Yeah, he was uncredited. Yeah, and that was one of his first acting roles. He had 4 acting roles that year, and that was his first.
And that was out at Marineland, right here in Southern California. In fact, they did a Munster special for Marineland at one point as well that you can catch on Tubi.
What I wanted to bring to the table was kind of interesting. Last night, I actually stayed pretty late reading. Actually, I decided to, for whatever reason, put up Honor House Products Corp. Everybody knows I deal with mail order and all that stuff. And the reason I actually Googled that name was the fact that the night before, I was blown away. I mean, I thought my collection was big and stuff, but I thought there was those one guys as monsters in my basement, YouTube channel and stuff like that. And this guy went through a guy's basement, and this guy makes me look like, I guess, I say like Joe to another collector, because you know how Joe only has comic books.
Wow.
I honestly, it was like 28 minutes long, and he just basically had every possible Aurora monster. And then I went out to see another video with the same guy that was doing that video, and he was showing all the Haunted Mansion SAP action. And not the Pirates of the Caribbean, but he had the 4 Haunted Mansions that were put out by MPC in the early 70s. And I was fascinated because the work they did on that truck, and Joe and Mike, the work is phenomenal. The person who airbrushed that stuff was just amazing. The way they did everything. But in the process, when I did Google Honor House Products, I thought it was funny. Now, I made a print of it, but unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to read it because I really printed it really small. But I guess you guys can look at it. If you look at Honor House and you hit images, but you have to write Honor House Products Corporation. And I put 35 Wilbur Street where it was located. And then you Google it and hit images. And there's one called the Mad Mystery Company. Now, the Mad Mystery Company, or some guy who had a blog, was actually, he goes under the name Mr. Castle. He actually used to be an old customer of mine from like 2010. And I realized he kind of said a couple of nice things about me, and then I realized who he was, and his name is Danny. He's all the way out in California. I would love to get him on, but he's been collecting for many years, and me and him were always constantly on the phone talking, but we haven't talked since 2011, 2012, and I was able to last night communicate with him, and he was like shocked that it was me, and I started sending him a bunch of the storage facility photographs and the items. And at the same time, I was looking, I was like, My collection is probably as big as those that I saw. The only problem is mine is not in display. I have
Right,
a box.
right.
So he goes to me, "You look like the Forrest J. Ackerman's house," he wrote me. And he said, and I go, "I don't know, it looks more like the Titanic that I have to." And then he went to compare me also to the Captain Company from Famous Monsters. And I go, "Well, it feels that way because every time I go to my storage, I'm opening boxes, I'm discovering things I never even had. I mean, knew I had." But
Right.
one thing that I'm going to bring up to the table was I thought it was funny, again, getting back to Googling House of the, Honor House. There's one particular guy. His name is Mikey C. It says Ventura, California. And he gives Honor House a 5-star. But the only reason he gave it 5 stars because he was going to complain. He goes, 50 something years later, he goes, that he says, "I was 9 at the time and I sent away." Now, I'm just kind of reading it off because I can't read it anyway. I can't see it. But it says, "I was 9 at the time and I sent away my $1.25 postage for the x-ray glasses." And it was kind of funny. And excuse the term, Cheri. He goes, "I wanted to see some boobs." And
Yeah. I read that, Eddie, when you sent me the email. That was hilarious.
that is so you know which one I'm talking about. And he says, "I'm complaining now 50 years later, you know." But then at the end, he kind of says, "I was kind of glad and I wish in a sense, I guess he was saying he wished he could have those moments again. But I was reading a lot of that stuff. And let me tell you, if you look at a lot of the mail order stuff back then, it reminisces so much with the time of that, with us. And it kind of brings us back in time. And I was surprised, even a couple of females on different threads, because I just started reading like different boards and they go back like Universal Monster Army, a lot of them. And it was interesting, the stuff that people wrote. And I was shocked too that I was involved in a couple of those back then. And my name did show up a couple of times that I was inputting stuff. And one of them, I noticed I had a little item there that was wrong. I forgot what it was. But the point is that it was fun. And I spent the entire night doing that. And it kind of made me look at my whole collection and say, you know what? I got to make my house like Joe. Joe did say he was going to give me his house for me to, display everything there. But I don't know if he's going to keep his promise. But that's where I'm standing. All right, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, there's ain't much room here left with my collection all over the place. You could try to stuff it in, but I don't think we'll have room to walk around or look at it. I need to get a storage facility like you have.
Actually, you know what? To be honest with you, I was thinking that I'm going to go like actually today. I took a couple of days off to work on that and tomorrow. And I'm actually going to probably get rid of a lot of like the furniture things I have in there. Because it would be so nice to be able to display your whole collection out like that and open. Because I got to tell you, that guy's, I mean, I don't know how the guy put it in his basement. I think he's crazy. But he has a massive collection. And you guys can see the channel. I think it was called Monsters in My Basement or something like that. But it's like 38 minutes long. And this guy has everything that has to do with Universal Monsters. I think he bought every possible collectible out there. And then there is another guy also, which also had another collection like that. I think it must have been a guy who must have owned a model shop, and he had all the models, like almost every single one of them. And then thirdly, there's another guy that I was starting to watch, but it's like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's my 50-year-old collection, and this guy was collecting bottles, tin cans, but he had everything organized. It was kind of interesting to look through that.
Wow. I tell you what, if you want to really look at some cool old monster stuff, and there's even some newer stuff in there, is if you go over to Universal Monster Army, the chat website with all the forums, you have to have a membership to look at the section. But if you sign up, or if you're already in there, at the top bar it says media. So if you click on the media button, it takes you to just tons of threads of old classic monsters, and they're all sectioned off. Like there's a Frankenstein section, Dracula, Wolfman,
wow.
all the Universal Monster ones. There's some miscellaneous stuff, some monster ads. But man, you could spend hours and hours on there looking at stuff. And the other day I was perusing on there. I'm like, I'm going to check to see if there's some stuff on eBay. And I tell you what, about half the stuff you couldn't even find. It's so rare and hard to find. And if you did find the stuff on eBay, the prices were just outrageous.
Oh,
You know,
But
Joe,
there was just some cool things on there.
Well,
Joe, one thing I wanted to mention, now that you said that, this is kind of interesting. I guess only you guys really know. I don't know out there how many people, but when I started selling the 6-foot Frankenstein and the skeleton, I mean, not skeleton, the Dracula, I used to print them in black and white. And, you know, I sold hundreds of those in black and white. When you start looking, this is really bizarre, the monsters in my basement, the guy that's got the massive collection, when they start going down to the basement, he's got the black and white Dracula on the right. He's got a Zachary on the
Oh,
left.
geez.
And I'm trying to figure out who he is because I know definitely he bought that from me. They are mine. No one's ever made them in black and white, you know?
yeah.
And he has also the Frankenstein. But going down the stairs, that's all they show of it. You could see it as they're going, and you can see a full-size Zachary. But I'm just saying it was kind of funny, though, because I know he's bought from me. I'm going to Google it a little more to see who he is.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
to have him in our show, man. Really
Yeah,
awesome.
that would be great. Hey, Eddie, getting back to that article that guy wrote back when he was a kid, the one part that stood out to me, he said after he mailed his $1 in plus 25-cent postage or something, he said he forgot about the order because he has the attention span of a gnat. And remember? It was hilarious. And then he said it about 3 weeks later, it came in the mail. And, oh, I mean, I was laughing so hard before I went to sleep last night. I couldn't believe it.
But I found it funny. He's giving it 5 stars 50 years later.
You know, that's funny because that's like sometimes late at night I'll be on Amazon or eBay and I'll find some stuff and I'm like, oh man, that's cool, and I'll buy it, and then like 4 days later a package comes. I'm like, what the heck is it? When did I order this?
You know, Joe, that always happens. Cheri asked me today, what's that package? I said, I don't know. I had to open it up and see what it was. Yeah.
Oh, good. So I'm not the only one.
No, you're not.
You know, guys, I'm going to tell you something. I get scared now because I may say all my stuff goes to the P.O. box because ever since we got the smaller 2-bedroom apartment from a 3-bedroom, my wife is always watching out what I bring into the apartment. So I kind of sneak it in, and it was kind of funny, though, because my brother, you know, I love him to death, but instead of sending it to my P.O. box, he sends it here, sends me a huge box with what do you call those collectibles, Joe? You have a lot of them, bebops or whatever it is, bobbleheads.
The pop vinyls.
Yeah, the pop thing. He sent me a giant, what was it? Frankenberry, the blueberry, and the Count chocolate, but they're like 15 inches tall. So the box was pretty large.
Oh yeah, the big ones.
Yeah, and my daughter gets it, and then of course she tells my other daughter. They start complaining that I'm a junk collector and I keep buying stuff, and that I'm sick. They're gonna have to call Hoarders on me, the TV show. And then my wife, when I come in at night, the only thing she says to me, "What is that?" And it's a huge box, and I'm like, "Why did my brother send it here?" It's
hot.
And on average, I get between 10 to 15 packages a week. I'm always buying stuff. I love it.
wow.
Your daughter wants to do an intervention with you, huh, Eddie?
Yeah, she's been threatening me. That's because they're saying, why are you paying $1,200 a month in storage facilities?
Amen.
But I got to tell you the truth, though, is I'm looking right now, and I really don't know how to consolidate more into 3 because there's really no space. And I opened up the other day a box that blew my mind away, and I said, oh, my God. Now, everybody knows I gave Todd one of those glasses he collects, the Underwater's Aqua Specs, I think it is. And I only thought in my mind I had gotten 2 of them. And now Todd, and we all know he's the master of sea monkeys, and old Harold Van Brohutov, he had never seen one. And I gave him one, and that's actually why we became such good friends back about, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. And I thought I had sold another one for $100 and some years ago. And then my daughter says, no, Daddy, you had 4. And I go, how can I have 4? Well, she was correct because now this is my daughter who's 36. So she was at the time 5 years old when I had my magic shop. And she remembers playing with them. And I told her, leave them alone.
Oh, wow.
So I found another pair. So that means there's got to be another pair somewhere in my storage. And I actually made one of my videos. Now, if you guys look at my opening videos, you'll notice the first couple, 4 or 5 of them, the ones that have like a ghost image and black and white, they're kind of like crappy because I'm learning how to do the unboxing and set up the camera to do it better. So I didn't do for the last 2 or 3 weeks already. I haven't done any because I'm trying to set it up really nice so that, it becomes more like a better thing. I'm trying to imitate the guy from Europe. What's his name? Grand Illusions, because he gets millions of views. And I want to do like set up in a table and have the products. But I got to tell you something though. One of the coolest things that's happening to me right now is every time I go to my storage, and I started opening as of about a month ago now, boxes that I haven't opened in years.
Oh,
The stuff I'm finding in there is just blowing me away. I mean, I found the Melton Company. Now we all know the Melton Company sold the sea monkey. I mean, the 7-foot ghost and the robot plants that I never had. They also sold a snow village something for $1. I actually have that. I didn't know I had that.
wow.
And as you guys remember, the haunted house too. It says you can build your own haunted house and whatever it was for $1.
Oh yeah.
I think I found the haunted houses together with it, but I left it in the storage because I didn't want to look through it because my hands were dirty. But I did find that, and I'm like, I didn't know I had that snow thing. So there's a lot of things. So to me, it's an adventure that each and every day getting closer to being a reality. And
I know what you mean. I mean, I just started clearing out my storage facility, my garage storage facility, and I actually emptied 2 dumpsters and 4 giant trash cans.
Wow.
And
Oh, jeez.
I got 13 file cabinets and filled all those instantly, and 4 high. And so I know what you mean, Eddie. And I'm actually finding things that I didn't know I had anymore as well. A lot of Universal Monster action figures, all different things. A lot of hypnosis and magic things I didn't know I had anymore.
wow.
So I understand that discovery, and I still got another single garage area storage that I've got to do that to at some point. But I took 5 days to do this, and I'm exhausted. So
You know what's really blowing me away? All right, go ahead, take a drink, Joe. But no one's found my plans, man. That's
Take
the
a
only
drink.
thing. I can't understand how that's even possible with so many people that have collected so much stuff.
Yeah, really.
Listen, those plans were advertised for more than 10 years. So there's got to be thousands out there. People got to have them, but I just can't see them. And listen, guys, when Tour Shop magazine was around, I remember I was looking for the 25 lessons in hypnotism. And I spent hundreds of dollars making phone calls. I finally got a copy of one of the original, which wasn't even the one with the man and the woman, the cover. And then eBay comes around, and I was able to buy like another 30 copies. It's just crazy.
It is crazy.
A lot of people probably have it. They're looking at it right now as we speak, and they don't even know I'm looking for it all my life,
Yeah, that's true.
But Mike, you said did you find anything interesting with the hypnotic sea? Because that's something that sparked my eyes.
well, I have such an extensive I found books on hypnosis, and some from back in the 1830 from Russia, and about suggestion, and just some interesting antiquarian books on hypnosis in particular that are just probably impossible to find these days. And so that was an interesting thing because you look through them, and magic books as well. I mean, and I found autographs from different people. Before Mark Wilson, a very famous magician, released his book on magic for teaching magic, the course on magic. I was a member at the Magic Castle the very first year in 1976, and he came to the juniors. He gave us all that book in 3-ring binders before it was ever even printed. So I have that autographed by Mark, and he's just, that's cool. I found a lot of neat stuff, just stuff that I had just really forgotten about. In particular, I have a lot of I was over in Japan for a while performing, and I found Ultraman, and I have an Ultraman that shoots at a kaiju, and it makes the kaiju flip around, and just really, really cool stuff that I had just really not thought about for very, very long.
Very long time. I tell you, Michael, that's the thing that scares me, because you know what? If something happens to me, I mean, my wife would not know what to do. I mean, there's just so much magic stuff packed away, and books, and Eddie says he'll take everything.
That's why I started doing this, because I thought about my daughter, because she's going to be looking after this after I'm gone, and I don't want her to have to really know. I must have about 6,000 comic books as well, and wow. So. And including some Golden Age Marvel, and all that, and so she would not know the difference, and she would get somebody come in and want to buy these, pennies on the dollar. So what I'm doing is trying to go through the comic books in particular right now and get them all in order, get the DC separated from the Marvels, Independents, and also put the ones that are more valuable from the 60s, like my, Fantastic Fours and all of that.
Right.
And all that separate, so that she'll have some concept of what the values are. And I even have Elvis's hair.
What?
Whoa, that's a big one there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's a collectible there.
That's a collectible. You probably can get several thousand for that.
Yeah, that's a big one. Oh my
God. I paid back in the 80s. I paid probably $1,000 for it. It's not a big. I have letters from Priscilla and everything, but it's from the. It was from the guard at Graceland, and he just handed him a handful of hair one time when he was getting his hair cut. And
my.
Yeah, and I have a lot of Elvis memorabilia, from when he was at the Hilton in Vegas, things that are worth quite a bit, and Elvis decanters, all that.
Yeah.
And I have things like a plate signed by all the members of Kiss. They're a Kiss plate.
Hey, Kiss is very big. I like the Elvis's hair though. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I got some hair from my pit bull. I don't know if that's any good.
Hey, you guys know the story of Neil Armstrong? When Neil Armstrong, actually, when you say hair, just put it to memory. The reason he refused to sign autographs towards the end of his life was because one time he found out his barber was selling locks of his hair. And actually that's why sometimes his signature is worth so much money, because he didn't actually sign too many stuff because of that.
Oh.
I think Joe bought some of his hair, didn't you, Joe?
I got a bunch of dog hair for sale. Anybody wants some dog hair?
Yeah, glued on.
So, hey, Joe, if you ever become famous, I mean, right now you are the main guy of the podcast. You can always sell your dog's hairs, man.
Yeah, I'll sell my hair, the dog's hair, whatever I could find, whatever will sell.
Sell them at 10 cents each.
Yeah, 10 cents a hair.
Guys, one of the things I'm going to say, especially when we're talking about all these collectibles and finding things here, the thing that I'm gravitating right now, I actually, in my job, there's a guy who used to be kind of like a COO or something like that of the Versace perfume line. The guy had a very big job before he retired, give or take. And he actually said to me, hey, what are you doing with those pirate flags? Are you going to put them in the museum? I had talked to him about it a couple of weeks ago, that they had approached me. I was just talking whatever. And you know what? I'm really thinking of giving the museum over in St. Augustine, Florida, the 2 pirate flags, because like he says, you're creating providence for it.
That's right.
And you leave it there a couple of years and those flags will be worth thousands, And I honestly, to be honest with you, the more and more I think about it, the more I think my collection should go display somewhere, because what is it doing in storage in boxes? It's crazy, the stuff that I'm finding. Yeah. I mean, Joe already got a box or 2. Chuck is getting, of course, all you guys are going to get a box, including you, Mike. It's just that I'm going in there and I'm just trying to figure out what in the world and where things are located. What is that book you want, Chuck, that I have?
Oh, the Mystery School, Jeff McBride. Yeah, that'd be a cool book.
Yeah, I have 1 or 2 copies of that book still in its plastic. And let's be honest, what do I need 2 copies? What do I need? And like Joe said, what do I need 7 Supermans or
What was that? The robot from Lost in Space? What do you have, like 12 of those you bought?
Actually, no. It's funny to say, but the Royal Lost in Space, I have actually close to 19 of those, Joe.
You have a robot army, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Threadmasters made them, and they were like 1995 when they came out, back 15 years ago, whatever it was, the 12-inch ones. And I bought one time, they were closing a store in the mall called Starlux Superstore, and they had them for like $9.95, and I picked up like another 6 or 7 of them.
Wow.
And it's retarded, but no, the one that you might be thinking of is Robbie the Robot. I have about 9 of those. Yes, Joe.
Those were cool. Yeah,
they were selling for $22 or something, $19.95 in Walmart. Now they're selling for like $60. But I bought 9 of them.
Wow. Getting back to the magic, Michael would know this. We just lost a really, very talented magician, Scott Alexander.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he passed away. We saw him perform at the Abbott's Get Together just before COVID hit, 2019. Him and Puck, they did a show that was in homage to their mentor, Denny. Yeah, Denny. What was his last name? I can't
Denny
remember.
Haney.
Yeah, Denny Haney. Yeah, they did a nice show for him, but he was only 52 years old. I mean, he was a brilliant, brilliant guy, and
Yeah,
not too
as a
long
matter of fact, Chuck, my bullet catch that I do in my show is based on his.
based on.
Actually, yeah, I've changed a lot because he did it with a paintball. I do it with a riot ball, and it's very different in that respect. But it was his concept that got the original one going, and yeah, so I actually did a post about him, although I never met him, don't even know him, nothing
Mhm.
about him, but I do work with his original creation in my show, and it's been a big hit for many years. So yeah, the magic community is going to be at a great loss. But the other side of it, Chuck, is I've been thinking, I'm sure you may also, but I've thought about this at my advanced years, that
Yeah,
that if I die when I'm doing what I love and everything, it's
yeah,
just fine. Whether you're 52, your time comes when it comes. And the thing is, he was on a cruise ship, he was performing, he was
that's
successful, he was well loved by everybody. So how can you find, it could have been 30 years from now and nobody would care about him anymore. And
yeah.
the deal is, if you can die when you're successful, it's not all that bad, really.
No, no, you're right. He was on a cruise ship and he suffered a stroke. I think a massive stroke, and then not too long ago, Max Maven went,
Yeah.
and Johnny Thompson
Max
he
May
was a
had
brilliant.
long-term cancer too. That was different, but yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
really, I mean, for me, I tell my wife and my daughter and my son every day, but I see them almost because we talk a lot. Not every day, but a lot of days. I'll say, if I'm walking on stage or I'm doing a gig and I die instantly, that's a great way to get out of this place, and that you were successful and happy.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was one guy out here in Pittsburgh, huh, Cheri? He was a good friend of ours. His name's Harry Allbacker. He performed a lot of the county fair circuits and so forth, and he died about 1992. Actually, when he was performing, he actually collapsed and he died. I mean, wow, what a way to go! And
Yeah, and through my career, sadly, I've seen death instantaneously. I actually had someone die on stage one time when I was performing.
wow,
And
wow,
so I was emceeing on a cruise ship, and he was saying to me, "Well, can I?" He was, one of the passengers, because Passenger Talent Night. I was cruise director, and he was saying to me, "I'd like to tell a joke." And I said, "Okay, what is it?" And he said, "Well, I want to tell a joke about the band." I said, "What is it?" Well, because they were from I forget where they were from, but he said, "So well, I want to say over there, but they've already been there." And I said, "It was a ridiculous joke." I said, "Sure." So he comes out stage, I introduce him, he falls dead right in the spotlight, right on stage in the middle of the show.
wow. Is that
And
something?
so, yeah, and so I had to, we got the doctor and everything, but they acted like he was still alive with an ambu bag and everything, and they took him off. But I took the lights down, I had the band play quietly, I did a prayer for him,
Mm,
and then I said, folks, these other folks are still here to perform. We might as well finish out the cruise. I'm sure he would appreciate that because he wanted to be in the show too. I got
right.
everybody applauding, and afterwards, the wife sent a nice letter to the cruise company. But follow up. Following week, I had an old guy come into the audition or the rehearsal for the Passenger Talent Show. He scuffled in his feet and he said, "I'd like to tell the joke about the snake with no pit to hiss in." And I said, "Sure, that's no problem. You don't need to audition. We'll just have you in the show." So he turned around and left on the dance floor, right in that same spot. He fell and died instantly in front of everybody.
Wow.
So the moral of this story is never tell me a joke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that. Whoa. Hey, how about the UK magician Tommy Cooper? He's still on YouTube. I can't believe they can't take that thing down.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
wow. He actually died at the Royal Palace Theater or something. And yeah,
Yeah.
he put on this Chinese garb. He was doing some type of like an Oriental rice bowl trick or something. He just like kind of like fell over against the curtain, and it's still up. I mean, they cannot
Oh
get
wow.
And once something's online, you never get rid of it. It's just like the guy who died from the Buried Alive with the cement and everything. It's
Oh, I
on.
remember that. That was Blackbeard Amusement Park.
Yep.
Yeah, close. Yeah, wife and kids were in the audience. Oh my goodness, it's
But
terrible.
it never goes away. Once you're online with something, it's there forever in perpetuity.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. Wow.
When you guys are saying all that stuff about people dying online, I gotta make sure because I'm trying to go visit everybody, hopefully. And when I go down to California by Anaheim or something to go to Walt Disney, I gotta make sure wherever I do. Thanks for telling me, Mike. But I gotta make sure. Hey, Mike, you want to hear a joke?
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, right. Don't ever tell me a joke.
Don't do that.
That'll be
Otherwise,
the
you might
last
be
joke
putting
you ever
me.
tell.
he might be writing about me in his second book of Uncle.
Yeah, well, see, Joe, that's the story, a book or a story you could write. The Killing Joke. Oh, I think they did that already with the Joker. But anyway.
Yeah, that was with Batman and the Joker. Yeah, we could do version 2 with Mike Mesmer.
Right.
You know, every time I would go with Jim Gray and Charlie over down in Chiller Theater, one thing my wife always said, every time you guys get an autograph from somebody, they die. And it was kind of funny because we got Ernest Borgnine. About 2 months later, you know, the guy dies. Then
Wow.
we get Leslie Nielsen, the guy dies. We get
Wow.
Curtis, the guy dies. I can't say what.
Oh, wow.
My wife went on to say, "You guys kill everybody, man."
Oh my, that's wild.
The only one that I got that he didn't die was Lee Majors, and it was kind of interesting because I was kind of disappointed when I got his autograph. He wasn't really a friendly guy.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
He wasn't, and it shocked me because I used to want to grow up to even be like this guy.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
used to close one eye on purpose a little bit more than the other. I think in life he had a lazy eye, but I wanted to look like him. You know, it's so stupid when you look at things like that today. And then I'm like, here's my idol, and the guy didn't even. I shook his hand, and he just like, hi, goodbye. You know,
wow.
Like,
You know, I found my Bionic Man doll while I'm going through my garage, and it's so cool how you can look through the back of his head through his bionic eye.
Yeah.
I have him. Hey,
But I will tell you, opposite to your story, Eddie, and it was at the beginning of his career when things were going good. I think maybe his career he's had a good career, but I think maybe along the way he just got, maybe pounded down. But when I was 16, I was actually a golf caddy for Lee Majors, and
wow.
I'm looking right here at my golf ball that he gave me on the day of the event. His bodyguard, Chuck, actually did magic. He was doing billiard balls for me when we were going around.
Cool.
Wow.
And but I have on this ball, it says Lee Majors, and it says Owen Marshall, counselor at law in Big Valley. That is all he had done at that time.
At that time.
But he was so nice to me. At the end of it, I said, "Can I have your ball?" He said, "Sure, kid." And he threw it to me, and I got it. But he said to me, "Now I want to tell you, I got a new series coming out this year. It's called $6 Million Man." He says, like James Bond, but he has superpowers.
That was such a cool show. We used to look at that every Friday night. My buddy and I would watch the $6 Million Man. Oh, it was so cool.
I imagine somehow that by me looking like him, I would get a girlfriend like Farrah Fawcett or the other one that did the Fall Guy.
Oh yeah,
Heather Thomas.
Oh, Heather Thomas. Yeah.
I was in love with those two, and I thought whatever it was, but it was kind of, as kids, it's funny the way we try to imitate people. Like you imitate Lee Majors, I used to like, and then I used to love Steve Reeves, that did Hercules.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you always try to grow up to be like that, and then you're like, am I retarded? But when you look at over time, you realize the fantasy of a like this guy said, at 9 years old, his memory was that of a gnat.
Yeah, exactly. The bottom line, we just got to be content who we are, right?
Well, and the thing is that like Elvis always said, it's very hard to live up to the image. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
When I'm at Graceland, but the truth is that it is true. I looked up to Elvis quite a bit, but in his personal life, as we see with what ultimately happened with his daughter recently and everything, it's so sad. The whole lineage of Elvis, it's sad, and he was bigger than life. I saw him 15 times in concert. I was actually sitting on Graceland's front lawn in about a month before Elvis passed away, and Lisa Marie was riding around in a golf cart. This is before Uncle Vester, his uncle, let us in to sit on the yard because Elvis didn't come out. And I was a big fan. I met everybody with Elvis, but it's very sad because the man was so amazing in public and also, kind to a lot of people, but he also evidently had his dark side. And, it's sad that ultimately you look at that, the whole Elvis thing, and it's just, in a way, it's overwhelmingly sad, with the grandson killing himself and then Lisa Marie probably killing herself.
That's a sad life, but you want to hear something that's going to make all you people laugh. When I was young, since I used to like Farrah Fawcett Major so much, I'm like 9 years old, give or take.
Yeah.
I read one time in whatever it was, Teen Beat, whatever the magazine was that had Elvis on the cover, and it said he was making a pass at Farrah Fawcett Major, so they had been seeing each other, whatever it was. I got jealous at that, and I hated Elvis. And believe it or not, even growing up, I never kind of liked them too much. And I think it was because of that stupid childhood thing. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
That's how retarded. I'm telling you, child. I had the wildest memory, man. I think I made Chuck and all you guys look. I
I'm
was.
telling you.
I mean, I tried to put my Polaris sub inside my freaking tub. And I wanted to walk inside of it. Like I thought in my mind, I could actually miniaturize myself and walk inside the damn thing. It's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, kids had an imagination that just
Oh
went
yeah.
on. And then when I turned 10 and 11, I'm like, why was I thinking that? You know?
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
I might be
Oh, I
the only
think-
one here that is not a fan of Elvis nor the $6 Million Man.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
What? The $6 million man?
Yeah, I'm not a
Wow, we
fan of either of them, man. For some reason, Elvis, I can never get into his music, and that
Oh,
$6
all
Million Man, I tried watching a few of the shows. I couldn't get into it.
Wow, we got to take that dog hair off you.
Yeah. Did you watch the one with Bigfoot that was actually Andre the Giant?
I love that one.
I don't remember. I watched them. This was, gosh, probably 20 years ago or so when I seen it. I don't remember which episode, but I didn't care for it.
Go on YouTube, I'm serious, and watch him fight the what do you call it, the Bigfoot, and it's actually Andre the Giant. It's scary as hell, man. You'll like that one. I'll bet you if you watch that, you'll fall in love with it. And next week, Joe will be, Eddie, I can't stop binge watching this.
Oh, yeah. How about the one with George Foreman guest starring under? That was cool.
They're all cool. I liked them all.
Yeah, they were good.
Actually, the first season, the first few were a little slow because they were developing it. But when you get into the real, the next season and the season out, they get much more action-packed and interesting.
Yeah, Oscar Goldman was cool. I liked him too.
Oh yeah,
really,
yeah,
very good actor.
Oh yeah, definitely. I always looked at him as the guy that knew everything. But you know something though, because of that show, I wanted to be an astronaut when I grew up. In fact, in the 1970s, all kids, I think, wanted to grow up to be astronauts, and I think 90% of it is based on the $6 million man.
Oh, absolutely. They did change one character in there, Michael. I don't know if you remember that, but I do. The guy that played his doctor.
Yes,
the
Rudy.
bionics. Rudy. Yeah, they did change the one guy to another man.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they did that per se, but yeah, they did. And
as kids, we didn't recognize. I never even realized until I was married later on that they had two Bewitched guys. They look so much the same. I just thought it was the same person. I never realized that.
Wow, you didn't notice that? Oh my goodness.
I mean,
and that's really a tale of two dicks, because you had Dick York and Dick.
Yeah, I guess that is. Hey, but that first Rudy, Michael, he played in Westworld, which is one of my movies. He was the robot builder.
Yes,
Westworld. He was so cool. Westworld. That's one of my top 10 movies of all time.
Oh wow,
I love it.
It's funny when you say that, but I don't think a lot of people in those times, actually were able to realize that. Like I said, with Bewitched and everything, because I read that a lot of people didn't realize they had changed the character because they kind of looked the same.
Well, they were different, but they both had sort of that puzzled look with the forehead.
Right.
Chuck, did you watch that new Westworld series on HBO?
I did. I watched I believe the first season. I tell you what, it was kind of rough. I didn't like it, to be honest with you. I like I like the scenery. I like the stuff they did to a point, but not so much the concept behind it. No, I couldn't watch past the first season, to be honest.
I watched.
That's how I was about Battlestar Galactica too, Joe, because I like the original, and when they did the new one, I couldn't warm up to it.
Yeah.
Now, see, I couldn't get into with Westworld. At the time when the HBO one came out, I hadn't watched the original movie yet. So I started Westworld HBO, and I got into like the third episode, and I said, I can't do this. And I think one time talking on here with Chuck about the movie, I ended up watching the next day, and I absolutely loved the movie.
Wasn't that a cool movie? Yul Brynner made that movie. Oh,
fantastic! I mean, it was just great from beginning to end.
Oh yes.
Now talking to Battlestar Galactica, I could never get into the original series, but the new one, I absolutely loved it. I think I binged that in like a week or so, and I was like, I want more of this. It was just, I just loved the whole concept that it kept you guessing on, who was a Cylon, who was a human being, and just the whole concept, and then the twist at the end kind of really made you think, about the series, and could something like that have happened before, or did it happen? It was really cool to think about.
I guess I'm spoiled because I was on the set of Battlestar Galactica when I was young, and
Uh,
so because Felix Silla, who played Cousin Ed, he also was actually the stunt double for Boxy, and then he was Tweaky on Buck Rogers. He had me come down for a day on the set, and so I guess I'm kind of attached to those shows, you know.
yeah, absolutely.
You know, Joe, since you said that, it's kind of like one thing that really puzzles me. Everybody, of course, loves Star Trek, the old one, Captain James T.
Oh,
But what do you call the guy, the bullheaded guy that did Star Trek: The Next Generation as Captain Captain Pickard, or something like that?
Picard.
Jean-Luc
Picard.
Picard.
yeah.
Let me tell you something. In all honesty, I think he was a much better actor than. People are going to pray, but I think he acted very well. I'm kind of surprised that even when he makes appearances in a lot of chillers and stuff, he doesn't get the crowd that you would get. But I thought, and right now I think he's doing a recent movie right now. I think that guy was really a good actor as a captain.
Well, the
Oh,
thing
yeah.
is that, both him and Shatner were both from Shakespearean backgrounds. It just was different eras and different times. But they both had Shakespearean, lineage in Canada for Shatner and England for Patrick Stewart. So they chose quality actors for both. It was different times and a different presentation in those times.
Yeah.
It's funny if you talk to some, real big Trekkies. Now, I like the original series the best. However, I grew up with the Next Generation. That was always on TV. That's what I had watched first as a young one, and I really enjoy that one too. But if, man, you get into some people that are really into Star Trek, man, you could start some fist fights. But we're talking about who's the better captain.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is, it's the thing is, here's the deal on this, Joe. The original cast was the original cast, and without Shatner, there wouldn't have been all the sequels because you had to have Captain Kirk for everything else to happen after that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I've read some reviews on the new series with Picard, and it's really not doing so good. It's kind of like they're really tarnishing his reputation as a captain. I haven't watched any of them, so I don't know firsthand, and I don't plan on watching it because I like to remember him, as he was with the original series. But I never went off on the other ones like Deep Space Nine or any of those. But
Yeah.
I just like the original one and Next Generation. I think they're fantastic series. You don't have to watch it beginning to end on any of them. You could pick up an episode here and there and still enjoy it.
Well, I think there's a lot of I'm hoping the third season of Picard will be really good. They're bringing back most of the next gen cast, including Gates McFadden, all of them, and Riker, all of them. So hopefully there'll be a little bit of the original magic in this one. What they did up till now, the problem is, Joe, I don't know if you noticed, but you probably haven't watched Discovery or any of those, but the storytelling is very illogical. And with Star Trek, it has to be logical. The difference between Star Wars and Star Trek is Star Wars is a science fiction fantasy, where Star Trek is science fiction. In other words, near science. And so when you get away from that, when you get it to become more Star Wars than Star Trek, it just starts not working. It doesn't work like Star Trek should. Having said that, the Orville combines both beautifully.
You know what? I still haven't watched the Orville. I heard that it's really good, and I like Seth MacFarlane and all the stuff that he does, but I haven't watched the Orville yet. It's on my list, but everyone I've talked to says that they absolutely love it.
The third season is phenomenal. Second half of the second season into the third season, it's just phenomenal. At first, it was sort of a play. It was sort of a funny version of Star Trek, but then they got serious. And man, that last third season was the best Star Trek I've seen in decades.
Wow.
That's really cool. On shows like that, you have to have good writing, and this has been my gripe, I guess, with Hollywood over the last several years is that the writing has really gone downhill.
Yes.
And it's taken the place of, hey, let's just pump this out so we can make millions or billions of dollars, and let's make another one so we could pump that out. And there's really no story there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And also just illogical jumps in the story plot and the plot, where 1 minute I was watching Grease. I took my wife out to see Grease for her birthday. And then I was thinking to myself, 1 minute Rizzo is pregnant. She's depressed. The other girl's saying she's going to change her, the Sandy character is going to change for the Travolta character. And then just in the next scene, they're all singing happy. We're all together. And Sandy changes to become this slutty girl to please the guy. And I thought this happened all in one jump from one scene to the next. One scene.
Hey guys, I have to jump in here because we are down to 1 minute left
Oh.
on the podcast. This
Wow.
discussion has gone very quick, and I'm sure we could talk forever on these subjects. But real quick here, I want to thank everybody out there in podcast land for joining us week after week. Please subscribe to us on whatever platform you find this on. Give us a 5-star review if you're enjoying what we're doing here. Also, catch us on houseoftheunusual.com. That is our flagship site. We have a free form there. You could sign up, talk to us, talk to some like-minded individuals. And if you want to be on the podcast or you want us to discuss a certain topic, that is the place to let us know. Also, we're on YouTube. Just type in the search engine House of the Unusual. It'll pop up. Chuck and Eddie are always putting up some fantastic videos. You guys will spend hours on there watching the videos over and over. Also, subscribe to that, like the videos, all that good stuff. Leave some comments if you so choose. And guys, that's all the time we got today. So Chuck, Cheri, Michael, Eddie, thanks for joining us. Everyone out there, thank you and good night.
All
God
right.
bless.
Good night.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
God bless.